what really drove me and what fed that need to want to go out and become an entrepreneur was probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old when we lost our house. I go from there, I'm crushed because I just lost a job that I loved. And I felt that I was pushed out into the ocean, But by chance, that was one of the biggest things that was a big eye-opener for me about this guy who paid off all his stuff after reading a book. So I was like, what book is this? So I read that book. That was the first book I ever read. And I told myself, I'm going to take this serious, man. Like everything that it tells me to do, I'm going to do. And if anything you can learn from that story is that sometimes when you feel like that things are, that you're a failure, sometimes it's not failure, it's lining you up for
It's that learning process, right?
Like if you keep telling yourself, it's almost like saying, I don't like to do squats, and you go into the gym every day and you're skipping leg day every day because you don't like it. Those are the ones you should be doing more of. And I think that's what business owners need to do, is they need to do more of the things that they don't like, especially when it comes to innovation and technology, because you're going to need it to stay.
Welcome to your podcast, Get in the Ring. Here, we invite champions of life and business to share their best fights, best punches, and all their learnings over the ring. My name is Jose Ochoa, an award-winning Latino entrepreneur in the United States, and author of the book, Get in the Ring, an entrepreneur's guide for the fucking real world. Guest today is Raúl Mendoza, a very successful entrepreneur and owner of Monster Link Marketing, a highly successful digital marketing company in Phoenix and El Paso, Texas. Raúl talked to us today about his journey as an entrepreneur, his setbacks, his wins, and several lessons learned on the ring of life and business. Now, let's get in the ring.
Raúl, thank you so much for coming here to share your story and your wisdom with us on our podcast, Get in the Ring with Jose Ochoa. I have the pleasure and the privilege to be a good friend of you, and I admire your entrepreneurship, your soul, your heart. You're a great person. And so in this podcast, what we do, we invite champions of life and business to share with us the best fights, the worst case scenarios over the ring of life and business, how they feel when someone knocked it down, and how they recuperate about that. And if you can give us or share with us your best shots on this arena. So thank you for that. I want to say that Raúl, he's currently serving as the owner and CEO of a very successful media company that is located in El Paso, Texas, which is Monster Link Marketing, LLC. But I would like to give you some time to introduce yourself, with all your passion and heart.
Awesome. So thanks, Jose, for having me, and I'm excited to be here in the ring with you. And I'm always excited to meet with you. We always have really good conversations.
Sure.
And I always learn something when I'm around you. So thanks for having me.
Likewise.
So just to give a little bit of background, I guess,
Sure.
on myself. Again, my name is Raúl Mendoza. I am from El Paso. I consider myself to be an entrepreneur, somebody who loves business, somebody who loves opening businesses and growing businesses. But at heart, I am an artist. I love art. I love creating. I love innovating. And I love helping people, too, as well, too. So that's just some of the core stuff that drives me. At heart, right now I'm owner-founder of Monster Link Marketing. It's a digital marketing agency here based in El Paso, but we do have plans to expand that into other areas and currently working on that. We have a team right now of 12, but
Wow.
we'll be growing soon. we'll probably end up somewhere in the 15 area by this time next year. That's what I'm forecasting. We've done it all I've come from traditional media, so I am in digital marketing, but my background is in marketing itself. Coming from the TV world and the radio world, I've worked for iHeart. I've done a little bit of everything when it comes to marketing. My start was in audio, and I was an audio engineer.
Wow.
That's really how I got my start in this world, and then I transformed into learning code, learning how to build websites, learning how to do motion graphics and video editing, trying to match myself up with some of the best people in my area that I can have access to, and then started to think about entrepreneurship and think about opening up my own business. And that happened after I was working for a large auto aftermarket company, where they sold like grill guards, stuff for trucks and stuff like that, and really started opening my eyes after attending a seminar in Bristol, Tennessee, and that was about marketing. And this was before the iPad actually had came out.
Wow.
And I came up with the idea to create my own digital marketing company after just being inspired by the lack of innovation and technology in my community. So that's really how MonsterLink got started. But other things, I guess, that I bring to the table. I recently went back to restructure all of my organizations, my companies, or they call it entity structuring.
Growing pain.
Yes. I'm just trying to go back and learning and understanding how wealthy people build wealth. And this was through different, I became part of a mastermind, which I paid a lot of money for. People, sometimes they hesitate on investing in themselves. But that was one of the things that I had to do to go back to the basics. So I'm now the owner of 5 businesses. I have 5 different entities that I've created, and I'm excited to. I'm getting into the real estate world, so I'll be as well being an investor and investing into properties, and then also I just established a management company to get like my kids involved and stuff like that, and get them on payroll and all the good stuff. And then in addition to that, I'm also growing an IT company.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm a real witness that you are always acting with open heart. I see you are very, very all about collaboration. I know for a fact on that. I see that you always, when you see an opportunity to help, you are always helping other business owners, coaching, mentoring them, sharing a lot of wisdom, golden nuggets there with people without expecting to receive anything back. And I think that's one of the main reasons why you are so successful and why so many doors opens for you in a natural way, because you always have that drive of just giving back and sharing with others without any restrictions, right?
Yep.
And I have to say that I'm very proud that you are the person that took us the picture, or helped us to make the cover of the book, Get in the Ring. And I love when I had that session with you, because you were very patient with me and proposing a lot of ways to improve and to make a good cover, right? And trying to understand what I'm looking to show on the cover of the book. So it was a great session of having first a conversation about what I was expecting and how do I feel about the book, what I want to project to the public, and then you really catch all the ideas and you transform that into the narrative of the cover, which I love it, and I receive a lot of great comments about the cover. So thank you for that, because
Awesome.
I know any other person I mean, will be like just shooting the shots with the camera and that's all. Let's get out of here. But you really, you were part of this cover. You are part of this cover of the book. Yeah. I love it, and thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for considering me on it. I think overall, I'm just honored to even be part of that, man. So
thank you so much.
I always come to humble, but great book. If you haven't checked it out, man, check it out. It's the first thing my fiance told me when I was on my way over there. She said, Tahoe said that I love this book.
Oh, so. Thank you so much. So. Thank you. Raúl, I would like to ask you this. When do you think it was the moment, the defining moment when you get in the ring of business? What was that moment when you say, okay, I'm really in the ring of business right now? What was that moment? I mean, what was that situation that marked the beginning of your journey over the ring?
Initially, I thought it was, coming to the realization. I was working a full-time job as a marketing director. I did everything that the system or that the world tells you need to do. You go to college, you get your degrees, you do it, you do everything the way you're supposed to, right? And then you land in a job and you work your way up through that job. You bring ideas to that job, and then you go home and you suddenly have this realization that you're like, this math is not adding up. I'm not going to be able to put my son through college. I'm not going to be able to be there for my kids that I need to take time off. That was my initial thought of what it was. But over the years, as I've dug deeper into understanding and, through counseling sessions or just sessions where I've reflected through myself as far as what really drove me and what fed that need to want to go out and become an entrepreneur was probably when I was about 10 or 11 years old when we lost our house. Wow. So just seeing my mom break down and cry was for me like, I'm going to do something about this. And at that moment, I started thinking of ways that I can make money. And I started selling newspapers at that time. I started selling Mexican candies. I started trying to do anything I could to try to, but that was, now that I've gotten older and now that I've been able to reflect, I think that was the moment, is just seeing a parent that is helpless. And then obviously I didn't grow up with a father. So not having a father has also had an impact as like me having to step up to be that person, but it's made me a lot stronger.
Wow. So you saw entrepreneurship as the way to resolve family issues and to resolve kind of like your future, right? And more importantly, the future of your mom or your family.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs of our age are kind of like with that drive, right? I feel the same. I mean, as I say, one of the chapters, necessity is the mother of all opportunities, right? Yep. Because when you have that necessity, when you feel those things on your guts, right? Those feelings, that pain, that moves you more than anything, more than money, more than owning a car, a nice car, or a big house. Yep. It's that drive of surviving, right? Surviving and being the support on that. So that I believe is the moment when you realize how many skills and capabilities you have that maybe you don't even realize, right?
I call it finding your fire. You know, like I always tell my kids, you got to find your fire. You know, like we all have it in us. Sometimes, like I feel through a lot of my life, I had it, but it was burning there, but it wasn't like really there. Because when it's there, there's no time limits. There's no, like nothing else matters. It's just like, I'm like you don't have to pay me for this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. And your story remind me a long time ago, years ago, I was reading an article on Forbes about a billionaire.
Yeah.
So this billionaire was maybe in the 1670s. He built a very successful company of molding parts for the automotive industry. So he grew to make, from nothing to make manufacturing facilities all over the world.
Yep.
So the guys asked him. So the guy said that in one of the dinners he called all of his sons, and he put on a table for dinner, and he told them, I'm here on this special dinner because I wanna apologize with you because I am taking away from you the best gift that life can give you, which is desperation, right? And unfortunately for you, you are never, ever, ever in your life, or even your sons are going to need money to live. So you will never be on desperation. And that's a great gift of life. That
it truly is a gift.
Yeah. So I see that. I always remember that story, and I always
I think
share that
it
story.
humbles you, right? You go through that in life, and you go home and you turn on the light. There's no light. You go in the refrigerator. There's no food, right? So you have to learn how to make way and be creative, right? And that sets a new level of respect for that kind of life. You know?
And unfortunately nowadays, that everything is so easy to get. Like you on the internet. I mean, smartphones. Even I mean, low income families, low income people have one of the most powerful smartphones, right? And so it's very easy to be complacent with yourself, right? Like in the family, like, I mean, we can put ourselves on debt, doesn't matter, but we can have it everything, right? I call eating the marshmallow, right? And so that, I think that's a great, it's a huge problem that we currently have, because the next generations, they don't need to stretch themselves to accomplish anything. But the thing is that when they face their real life on the streets, I mean, is when it comes a lot of mental health issues, things like that, because they feel very frustrated to do not have immediate access to what they think they deserve, right? And I don't blame them. I mean, we lived a different era on life. I mean, the 80s, 90s, it was completely different. And so I think we as a parents and they as a new generation, we need to readjust what we are currently living in order to, I mean, to move forward, right?
Sure.
It's hard.
It's a big difference. You know, like I tell people, and I tell these guys, I used to have to go and like pay people, call somebody, hey, do you mind if I come just watch what you're doing? So I can come and learn. I'll buy you lunch. You know, that was my thing. I'll buy you lunch. I'll bring you food, you know, like I promise I won't mess. Like it's when today you can just watch a video and stuff like that. But I think that even gives you a better diving board or a springboard that you can take off from, man. So I think, like I tell people, whatever you want in life, it's in these devices, you know, like you just have to type it into that device and learn anything. When I started to learn code, I never thought I would learn code. I was a basic student. I would call myself basic because I just got through school, you know. I wasn't like I wasn't passionate about educating myself, but as I started to learn and study greatness. I started understanding that people that are great and that are doing good in life are usually people that read. People, you know, they have certain common factors, and so I started having to adopt some of those things. And then when I started reading, I was like, wow, you know, I started doing my goals. You know, that's how I started. And I laughed at myself the first time I read my goals out loud. But I think those factors help a lot. So.
Nice. What is the book that you consider that change or explode your mind on business? What do you remember? What was that book?
The very first book I read, Think and Grow Rich.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
I love it. Or How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Sure.
Both of those are like classics, right? But were the very first two books. I don't know what like as I look back, like so those are some of the most famous books.
Sure.
I just happened to read an article. I was going through a separation at a time, and I read an article and was talking about, about this guy who paid off all his stuff after reading a book. So I was like, what book is this? and it was Think and Grow Rich. And so I read that book. That was the first book I ever read, and I told myself, I'm going to take this serious, man. Like everything that it tells me to do, I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that was really the start of it. And now I'm in 100 titles. So
Wow. Yeah, I love that one. It's very complex, but very rich.
I've read it like 3 times.
In a lot of topics, right? I mean, even family, business, psychology, work ethic, all that. And on my case, the book that changed my life was on my high school years. On my high school, it was the Quest by Alfonso Lara Castilla.
Never read that one.
Yeah,
But I did read the Black Book of Persuasion.
The Black Book of Persuasion,
which is a great one as well.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I love it. So
yeah, so read that one. I really recommend
Quest,
the Quest. In Spanish is La Búsqueda.
Okay.
And the author is
I love the name, man.
Alfonso Lara Castilla. Yeah, you're gonna love that one.
Yeah.
I would like to continue on this conversation with what is the punch in the mouth that you must remember, but that help you to pivot or to have more clarity on life and business.
I'm going to have to choose from every single month I get punched in the mouth. Literally when I would do martial arts, but right now in business, being an entrepreneur, you go through a lot of ups and downs, and you're constantly having to go through things. I just shared, some stuff that we're going through with my family and stuff like that. It's just always a punch in the mouth, Jose. But I think the ones that really stand out to me and I look at was the day that I decided to leave my full-time job to take on my business. I think that was one of the most memorable, and even more, it means a lot to me. And I'll get to the story, but it was one of those moments that it was like a defining moment for me and when I say the day that I left my job, my full-time job to take on the business, I didn't leave my full-time job. I got fired. And so I was working at an automotive aftermarket company here locally, and I was a marketing director 6 years. I had, was really happy. My phone was paid for. My computer was paid for. I was taken care of. I got to go to one seminar anywhere in the United States every single year. I got to go to SEMA every single year. I don't know if you know what SEMA is.
No.
Never been to SEMA?
No.
Oh, my God. You got to go to SEMA. Do you love cars?
Yes.
You're a car lover? All right.
I'm not not hardcore on cars.
Yeah.
But I like cars. I appreciate
SEMA
cars.
is like the top of the top. If you want to go see like the best cars and like in everything, whether it be off-road race cars, every single manufacturer, car dealer shows their vehicles at SEMA. They have race cars. They have you can actually get into a Corvette and ride it around the track to see how it handles.
Oh, wow.
And, it's a huge event, and Alamo goes because we would go every single year because we would because we sell automotive parts, right? And every year I would go. Even one year I got a scholarship through the SEMA program, and it was a great experience. I loved working there, and it was a really good learning experience. I worked side by side with the owner of the business, super smart owner to this day. I mean, I super respect their family, but I learned a lot through that process. And I've been there 6 or 7 years. I was a marketing director. I would always come with these bold ideas. I remember the owner used to tell me Raúl, what are you going to do today? You're going to take over the world, because I would always come in with these crazy ideas for what we wanted to do. And I remember one time I got laughed at for talking about psychographic data. And they're like, you're making up words, but this was early on in marketing. Now we know that psychographic analytics and data is what has won the elections for the last 2 years, the last 2 elections. And there was a movie that was made, it was called about Columbia Analytica. It was talked about how they won. Anyways, well, I would bring a lot of big ideas to the table, right? And I love the job. I just want you to know how much I love that job. Obviously, I worked around cars. I love cars myself. I've always been a big car enthusiast, truck enthusiast. And it was one of my dream jobs, and I got that opportunity. After 6 or 7 years, things started to change within the organization because there were restructuring and stuff like that. And one of the things that was decided was, if you're going to work here, you need to follow these things that are up on the board, right? You have to be diligent, and I remember that specifically, and I'll let you know why. But you had to be these things in order to fit with the organization, right? Well, at that time, my youngest son, we had become pregnant with my youngest son. He was about to be born, and I was like there. We were like days away. I was in the hospital with him, and the manager calls me and says, "Raúl, are you coming back to work?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." But I'm like, why is this guy calling me like so much about coming back to work? I'm getting ready to go on vacation. I had saved like a 3 or 4 week vacation. 2 or 3 years worth of vacations in order to take this vacation to make sure that I'm with my son, through the first days of his life, And so I come to work because by that, she was already in the hospital. We're getting ready to deliver, but it was like, okay, it's going to happen tomorrow. Okay, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to work to see why they've been calling me so many times. So I come into work, and then they pull me into the office, and the manager says, "Raúl, you know what? We've decided that we got to let you go. We're sending out emails to you about this specific thing." And specifically, it was about a $40 charge that I had for my tint job that I had done, and they had made a company thing that everybody's got to pay their outstanding bill. It's $40. So they bring me in and they said, "Raúl, we found you not to be diligent because, by you answering your emails, you're showing that you're diligent. So you've shown that you're not, so we're going to have to let you go." And so I was like, okay, so I walk out of that place, man. And by this time I had run my business for 5 years, and we were making a little bit over $100,000 of revenue a year. And it was just getting off the ground, and I was just paying the employees. We had probably like 2 guys. It wasn't a big operation. So I walked out of there, and I was like, man, like, first of all, I go from there, I'm crushed because I just lost a job that I loved. And I felt that I was pushed out into the ocean, But by chance, that was one of the biggest things that was a big eye-opener for me, because I always had entrepreneur friends that would tell me, "You're never going to grow your business unless you jump, man. Like, you need to focus on your business. You can't be here and there." I would leave during lunch. I would try to go early in the morning. And, thank God, like I said, the Krasnys were and the family was very understanding to me running my business and stuff like that, was always very helpful. Again, super smart family. And I'm very thankful for that. I lost my job. I take off. My son is born the next day. And then you can imagine the amount of stress that comes on with my family and stuff. So we do that. We're not getting along because of everything, it was a very hard time, like early on in that time. So I lost my job. Luckily, I don't know, and I'm a person that always believes that things happen for a reason. Like even right now, as I'm talking to you, I feel like this already happened, but it's weird that I think like we're always guided. I don't know if you have that feeling,
yes,
like when things happen and then it always makes sense, right? So months before, I had gotten a random call from a guy that says, "Hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm the president of iHeartMedia here in El Paso. I met you years ago. You left an impression on me just, from your understanding of digital. And I want to see if you'd come work for us." And I told him, "Nah, I have a job. I'm good." So as soon as I lost my job, I called him back. And I said, "Remember that job? Is it still there, man? Because if it is, I'm interested." And luckily, I got hired. I went to go work for iHeart. And then 6 months later, I got a job in Dallas that paid me as much as I was getting paid at iHeart to go to Dallas for 2 days out of the month. And so I was like, I quit. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to do this. So that was my separation. Looking back at it, that was like, and it's funny now, and I'm smiling, and I look over at Brian about this because I just had the meeting today with Alamo again because they just rehired me. They just rehired us. They hired my company now.
But now your company.
Now my company. And, again, I'm very thankful. Wow. I even when they fired me, I was upset for maybe like a month, but after that, and when I got the job in Dallas and everything started to pan out, I'm like, man, this was all for a reason. Like this was the way it was supposed to go down. And we're now 6 years later, and I haven't looked back. You know, I've been on my own. It was funny the way that things worked out because Gabe was my graphic designer at Alamo. So as I moved on, Gabe took my position at Alamo, and then I asked Gabe if he would come work for me. So he left Alamo and came work for me. So it was just a funny way that everything is done and whatever. And I'm very thankful. And like I said, I'm happy to be back there because I was really, really passionate. I'm back there, but it's now us being a company.
And it's still the same owner, right?
Staying with still the same owners, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with Dick, the owner, and super smart. Like I told you, I have nothing but respect for him and his father and what they've created there, because that's how I tell them, like, everything I do today was because of looking at you guys, like looking at the way that the board meetings were structured, looking at the way that you presented yourself. Like, I had practice there to be able to pitch my ideas to a lot of people. And I was the young guy. I was like the guy that came in and was like, oh, this guy's trying to push Facebook. Like, he's full of shit, but I like him. So he's going to, we're going to listen to him. So, but now, Dick has told me ever since, like, he's very proud of me and
Nice.
what I've been able to accomplish. So it was just like a 360 come around, that kind of gives me validation to all the sacrifice and hard work. And if anything you can learn from that story is that sometimes when you feel like that things are that you're a failure, sometimes it's not failure, it's lining you up for
It's
success.
that learning process, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but I learn more from failures than from success. Success
sure.
sometimes
For sure.
it didn't teach you anything, right? It's just like, it's very easy to be a good business owner when you are successful.
Yeah.
The thing is when you have failures and problems is when you really put yourself to the test and see
Yeah.
what are you made of, right?
Yep.
And that's great.
Yep.
Raúl, what do you consider that is on this? This acumen of skills, capabilities, and everything during your journey as an entrepreneur, what do you consider are your best punches? What is your trademark punch on business? What do you think is that?
Yeah, I think now when I reflect on it, just because at first I didn't consider myself to be any different than anybody else, but now looking at it, like, I've had the business for over 10 years, just accomplishing those metrics. And if you could look at statistics, most businesses fail within the first 2 years.
Sure.
After 5 years, it goes down to like 90% of those people will be gone, right? So I would have to say, like, grit and just the ability to stay with things and not give up and believe in myself and take those punches. A lot of it I attribute it to martial arts, and rest in peace to my Sifu. Greg Allen was one of my teachers. Was our police chief, has recently passed away.
Yeah.
He was one of my early teachers. He was one of those people that spoke a lot of knowledge to me, and really kind of like when I first started in martial arts, he was my first teacher, and really just pushed me forward into that world. And then I got into jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So learning how to stay with things and grit, even when you're being beat up and you're being sweat on and you got an elbow in your face or whatever it is, I just sticking with it and just knowing that we're going to get through it, I think is one of my strongest attributes. The other one is my curiosity, man. Like, I'm very curious. Like, I want to learn more. I want to learn everything that I can. I try to learn from everybody. So I would say that as well too. But other basic stuff is like mathematics, man. If you guys pay attention in math, if you want to, understand money and numbers and know how to stuff, it's going to be very important. Unless you want to pay somebody to do that for you.
You know what impressed me, really impressed me about you, Raúl, is when that I know for a fact that the moment that something new is out on the market, like AI or the new tools, the new technologies, I know for sure you are applying immediately and playing around with those new tools, new softwares, technology on your business in orientation to offer new benefits to your customers.
Absolutely.
You demonstrate that to me. I was impressed for like an hour when you show me how do you really go so deep into the concept of the customer and to make sure they you and your team understand, and to show him, to show your customer things that they don't even know about them, right?
It's obsession, of being obsessed, brother. Just I get obsessed literally. Like if you can follow me for a day, like my brain is there all the time, and it's hard for me. It's a good thing. It's a good trait. I call it a double-edged sword. But when you're in public and you're like talking with people and you're around family, you come off as awkward because that's constantly going through my head.
Sure, I'm kind of like you on that area. Very obsessive on details, and I mean over delivering and all that. On my personal case, the price is sometimes that I don't give enough time for family.
Yep.
And that's one of the main reasons why my family is today here with me during podcasts. I'm trying to involve them because I know I fail on that area. Being so obsessive on my projects, my business, my reputation as a business owner, and everything to make it pristine and to perfection in my craft and all that. But it's I believe there's no balance on that.
Yeah.
I mean, either you go all hands on and very deep, but for sure, I mean, if you don't have the support of your family, will be very hard. I mean, that can kill you immediately.
Sure.
And of course, they suffer. The thing is that I'm 46 now, and I'm trying to put more balance on my life, on my personal and business life, because it's necessary, and it's necessary for my family, for the new generations, and to help other entrepreneurs that sometimes what you only think on grinding, right? Grinding. I mean, keep pushing, and keep doing those metrics and everything. But yeah, that's on my case. I know there's other entrepreneurs that they are more sophisticated and very good, and they find the balance and all that. But everyone is different. That's just on my personal case.
For sure. And just to backtrack a little bit, the futurist in me, because that's why I consider myself to be a futurist, somebody who's obsessed with the future and how things are. I think it's important just from a business standpoint. I think as entrepreneurs, if you are an entrepreneur, or if you are just anybody in business, just anybody out there, you should always be looking to innovate yourself. And I'm always thinking about how can I take this tool, that tool, and make something new out of it, right? And so I'm always trying to put myself out of business. I'm always trying to see ways that I can do things better.
Finding your own poison, right?
Yeah. I think, that's what Jeff Bezos did great with, with the Kindle, with putting out the, like when he was doing the books online, which both ended up being super successful, right? But I think that's what drives me all the time, is trying to find new innovations, like new technologies. I'm very, very excited about that. But also I see it as a way, I guess, for me for one day to be able to clone myself, or to be able to do that, so we can have more time for our families and do things like that. My kids don't understand a lot of times a lot of the sacrifice I do, because I love them, and it's one of my core factors. Like, as we go back to the first question you asked me, like why I'm still that little kid that's trying to make sure that we don't lose our house. You get what I'm saying?
Correct. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. And how often do you revisit your childhood in order to empower yourself in the present?
I mean, daily. I live with it. I mean, I have traumas that I live with, that I live with and the way that I grew up. I've talked to my brother on a constant basis about this stuff. And then I've also done counseling because I do counseling with my son, because I'm trying to learn how to be a better father. I didn't have a father, so I was trying to understand. I've been trying to understand these riddles that you have for yourself. I have them for myself too. And I'm just always, because I am that person that tries to be better at everything I do, I read books on fatherhood. I read books on parenting and stuff like that. So, I want to be open-minded to all of this stuff, man. So, but, like I always, when you think you figured it out, then you're just right back to square one. You're that same person, right? But overall, I think, I think the technology and everything, I see it as a way for us to obviously, it's had a lot of the opposite effect because it's created a lot more anxiety. It's created a lot of doubt in people where they don't believe in themselves because we've got so many messages bombarding, which I'm very intrigued with these days, and like what AI is going to do in this next chapter. I'm very intrigued with it. But from a business standpoint, like I eat it up all day because I'm going to dive deeper when it comes to technical. I'm going to be way more technical to understand things from that aspect, as well as the operations, the people part of it. But, I'm reading right now Exponential Organizations. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
From Peter Diamandis.
Yeah, one of my favorites, man. I love Peter. The other Peter's been telling me, like, I know him. I'm like, man, stop telling me this or else, unless you're going to introduce me, because he's like one of my favorite authors. Super smart man, but I love like everything that he talks about innovation, that we should be trying to innovate the way we do business, the way we serve customers, the way our product offering, and all of this. So I'm always trying to re-innovate, man. I always going back to the drawing board, even with myself. I'm
a huge fan as well of that. I used to be part of Singularity University.
Yes.
I'm an alumni from them.
Nice.
Yeah, and this guy, Peter Diamandis, and the other guy, Ismail Salim, I think he was the person in charge of technology and AI for Google, I believe.
Yep.
And I'm very surprised of how aligned we are. Like what you say about parenting, I'm also working on parenting right now as well. And I think it's I don't know, you are younger than me, right?
I'm 41, going to be 42.
41.
Yeah.
I think that's the
close,
age.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm 46, and I think it's a moment of life, right? I start thinking in a lot of things that in the past I don't even care, unfortunately, right? Like things like that, like being a better parent, a better husband.
And at this point, I think, and you may possibly as well feel the same way, but I've reached a certain level of success that I can say, okay, like I've gotten to a certain point. The urgency doesn't have to be as crazy, right? I'm taking Monday and Tuesday off this next week, which is rare for me to do, to drive my son to college, because he's going to be going to college in San Antonio. So yeah.
Wow. Raúl, what is talking about newcomers, new entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
What do you think is a punch in the mouth that they should receive early on in order to make sure they are a real entrepreneur?
It's a loaded question, man. A punch in my mouth is having the IRS knock at your door and auditing you. I think that's a big one, right? We've talked about this
Sure.
one. I think other ones are to lose everything, lose your money, lose everything that you've done, and then have to rebuild yourself back up. Other ones that I would say are, I think the day-to-day punch in your mouth where you have people doubting you and not believing in you is going to be a big thing. Like I said, on these punch in the mouth, it's an everyday. I think just like the bear going through a punch in the mouth, I think is what's going to be important. Like,
sure.
Just you get punched, you get up and you smile and you keep getting in the ring, right? And I think this is similar to your analogy with the ring and with
the business life.
business life, because it's not just one punch, it's multiple punches.
Correct.
It's a punch that will knock you down. It's a punch that's going to make you dizzy. It's going to be the punch that is going to wake you up. It's going to be the punch that's going to tell you he punches hard and you're doubting yourself, you know? So it's all of the just like I said, just having a punch.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that on my case, that punch should be facing rejection.
Yep.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs, for the good luck of them, they took off immediately with a project or a product, something like that. And after 2 years of success, before that, they never face rejection, right? Yep. And they never face risk, right? And or
risk is the other big one, man.
Risk.
I call it like bringing the plane down, like to scrape the ground, you know, because sometimes we do, and sometimes I like, even my mom brings this up, and she'll like be like, "You're so crazy. I don't know why you would do that." Like, you know, it's because you become a risk taker, right? You have to go out on the limb to be able to reach the next level. You know, moving a building, like you were telling me earlier, you guys just moved it. It's like you got to move everything. Obviously, it's not moving a warehouse, but it is a lot of work because you're there. It's more investment into more furniture. If you go into a bigger place, it's more rent. It's more, you know, if you're going to go from regular internet to fiber, you're going to have. I mean, it's just all of those extra stuff. But that risk is going to be on a daily basis. It's going to be. I go through a situation, whether it be risk for my business or I have a risk with a client, or I go through some type of risky situation where I have to coach an employee or whatever it is. Like, we're always going through ups and downs and stuff like that. But
or risking family.
Risking family, yes. You know, my first relationship fell apart because of me and how I am, because of how obsessive I am. And it takes a strong person to support that as well, because sometimes it makes the other person feel like they're out there conquering the world and I'm here stuck. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
So and that's hard, and I have that in pretty much every relationship that I have, because I'm very ambitious.
Remember on that book that you mentioned it earlier today, the Think and Grow Rich, I don't know if you remember, there's a part that Napoleon Hill say that, I think he talked to 100 entrepreneurs.
Yep.
The richest guys in the world.
Yep.
And but he say, what I noticed is that even on those 100, it was a bundle of them, ultra successful, more than the other ones. And I noticed that the common thing on them is that they still with the same woman that they started when they started their businesses.
Wow.
So he say having the same wife during all your journey, it's critical, or it increases your percentage rate of success.
Wow. I didn't know that, man.
Yeah.
I wish. I tried really hard, Jose. I tried for it to work, man. Yeah, but, I was even thinking as you were talking, like, just to the last question that you were asking about, like, what are some of the other, like, things I think is also maintaining success and multiplying success, I think is another big thing as I look back, because anybody, can reach that, but maintaining it is difficult. And I think after that is learning how to manage money, learning how to manage stuff, especially if you don't come from money. And when I talk money, it's like, it's not just like, okay, I just made $1 million, but like growing that from 1 to maybe 10 or 100, that it's.
And you know what? Just to complement that, sustaining success, it's so fucking hard.
Yes.
But understanding what is success for you.
Exactly.
That's so fucking hard
I think
to understand.
We do. That's a problem with a lot of people, or with a lot of entrepreneurs, is that we're throwing these arrows, but we're not aiming, right? We've got to find that goal. Like, what is your what is your rich life look like, right? Because my rich life is going to look different than yours and the next person. So you got to really identify. And I've had to take those deep dives so I can set my goals. Right now I'm in the process with a financial advisor going through those goals to understand from a financial standpoint, what do we need to do to achieve that goal in 10, 15, 20 years? What are we going to do?
Sure. I'm trying to better understand success on my case, and I believe a big factor on success for me, what I'm pursuing, it's to keep the journey, sustaining the success, but having the fulfillment of myself.
Yeah.
That all those activities fulfill myself in all the areas, not just on the, let's say, on the money or on the projects or on that. So feeling rich in all areas, which is very difficult. It's very difficult. And more, let's say in my case, I'm not sophisticated. I don't come from a very, high education, things like that. I came from public schools, but it's something that you have to be continuous learning and not just on your area of business, right? On like if you are in media or I'm in logistics and packaging, not just on that. I mean, learning about parenting, about psychology, about AI, about even a biography of another guy. I mean, because that at the end of the day is what it's going to make you a better person to take decisions, right? When you face the defining moments, it's not just because if you are very rich or very wise, but only on the business side, business, it's people, right? It's not a company that it's not Apple or Alamo that it's giving you the business. It's a person, right, that works on Alamo that is giving you the business.
That's what I tell my salespeople all the time. Like I don't want to use that word because we don't have salespeople, right? I think differently when it comes to selling, but I tell the people that deal with customers that a lot of the times people are not hiring the company, they're hiring you. They're hiring the business. They like you. They want to do business with you, right? So that's big that you said that.
Just to elaborate on the salespeople, you don't like to sell salespeople. I just learned from a very successful guy on Mexico City that they call it energy people because they say sales, it's energy. You are selling energy, right? And
that's funny that you say that. Use that word too because that's what I get a lot from a lot of clients that say, Raúl, I can feel your passion. I feel that you're excited about what you do. And I want to be part of that. So I never thought of it like being an energy person, but I think from a going back to how to win friends, influence people, right? I always remember the analogy where he said, like we have to be like a dog. Our dog is always happy to see us. That's why we love them. They never disagree with us, right? Every time they see us, they wag their tail. They're happy, right? And you have to have that same mentality when you're doing business to make people feel that way. Even sometimes when we're going through some hard things in life and stuff like that. But I always show up with that energy and people can feel that I'm excited about what I'm doing and what their project means to me.
Not sure. I'm with you on that. And I can say that you always have that energy, and I think that's why we understand each other so well. Because I try to stay away of any business that it's just about transactions. I like to be on relationship with the customers, and I think everything is about energy. And I know a lot of small business owners, they don't understand that in this game, you are the main ambassador of your business, right? So whatever it's your reputation, it will be the reputation of your company. But also very dangerous. Let's not attach ourselves to our companies, right? Because when your company fails, you feel like a failure, right? So you gotta be very aware that yes, I'm the ambassador, but I'm not my company. My company, it's our own entity with their own life. Yes, I'm the ambassador, but I mean, I have my own brand.
How do you feel? I know because I know you've shared personal insight with me, but I think that's one journey that I'm going through right now that I'm like, so like it causes me anxiety, man, just thinking of going backwards and stuff. I've been very fortunate to continue to grow the business and stuff like that, but it keeps me up at night because I obsess on what I'm doing and I have to separate myself from that. And, you know, like, how do you advise owners to navigate that?
My advice, Raul, comes from the moment that I disclosed in the book, and I told you before, when I lost that $1 million, and I was about to get to file to get into bankruptcy, right? Because that money really takes out all my cash flow.
You're like, so man, I've been working for 10 years. How can I be negative $1 million, right?
Yeah, negative $1 million in overnight. I mean, from a Friday to a Monday. Yeah. And so I was on a self-discovery for weeks on my home. I was by myself in my office, in home, and I was like scared, afraid, feeling embarrassed about this situation and thinking a thousand of things. But the moment that I told to myself that, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen if I lost on this situation? Okay, losing my company, I'm okay with that. Losing my house, I'm okay with that. Okay, so besides that, that's the bottom. Okay, so I can lose my company, I can lose my house. So I asked my wife if okay.
How about letting people down?
Sure, as well.
I mean, does that, because that weighs on me heavily as well. And I ask you these things like selfishly because I think when another thing that I didn't mention when you asked like what are some of the punches that a young entrepreneur is just mental health, physical health, right? And, you know, like going through just like things of worrying about things and stuff like that, because it's something we constantly do, right?
Sure.
Especially when you have a lot of employees and you have a lot of people that depend on you. The stuff of mine, I don't care. Like you said, I can deal with my house. I can deal with, like I've been there before. We can build it back up. I built this, I can do it again, right? But it's also that thought process of letting them that they have their families that depend on them.
Yeah, I mean, that's heavy. I separate that one, and what we did immediately was to, secure that that we are not going to fire anyone, and we keep the same salary levels. What we did is my partner and myself, we cut our money from the company, right? And our salaries. So that way we help to alleviate that, and then we put in place a strategy of recuperation and a strategy on how to deal with vendors, with banks, with customers as well. And being very transparent, right? So when we fix that, I have to fix myself as well, right? Because if I don't believe in the plan, if I still believe on the failure, it doesn't matter if I put that plan over there because, everything will fall from the head, right?
How does it come with mentioning that to your family and
I mentioned
that conversation?
Oh, yeah, I had that conversation straight with my wife, and I told her, Jay, remember when I told you, I say to her, remember what I told you when everything started, when I was dreaming on having my business. I told her, the entrepreneurship life is very risky. So you have to be able to handle two sides of the coin, handling a lot of success or handling losing everything and being on the street again. Yeah. So that moment is right now, that we are on the left side, that we are about maybe to lose everything. And so we have to, are you with me to start all over again from a department and me finding another job while I tried to, put together
so
another.
You had even gone that deep where I have to go get another job.
I told her right straight in the face. And the moment that she say, I'm with you, we are with you. Don't have any doubt about it. So it's a moment where I feel very confident. And then I say to myself, okay, you have to be like a bird. So a bird, when the branch of the tree falls down, the bird doesn't fall to the floor. The bird find another branch, right, to collocate himself. So because I was like believing that if that branch falls, I will fall to the floor as well.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, with the assets, the skills, the capabilities, the connections that I have, the knowledge, I can build even a better and greater company than my current company.
Yeah.
So when I convince myself about that, is the moment that I start gaining traction, is when I put the company into the business accelerator program of Microsoft that we ended up winning the first place, and Microsoft gave us $25,000 and all that. So in that moment, Raúl, we start, I'm talking on my personal journey, right?
Yeah.
It changed my whole narrative. Is when I start getting a lot of attention, a lot of light over me, because I really start trusting a lot on myself, and not being afraid of the opinion of anyone. So I feel enough to start doing that. So at this point, if someone give me the opportunity to go back in time and say, will you change that event where you lost that $1 million? I say, never. I repeat the same thing again and lost that $1 million, because at the end of the day, it's just money, right?
Yeah.
But the thing and the privilege that I obtain out of that, and I think, how can I convert that problem into a solution,
Yeah.
right? And it was talking about that, sharing my expertise. That's how the book come out as an idea. So when you don't feel embarrassed about sharing, I lost $1 million. I almost lost my house and my business.
Sure.
I don't care. So you feel...
Up until that point, did you feel like there's times that I feel, especially like lately when we've had growth, like major growth, that I start feeling imposter syndrome, where you start feeling like, man, I'm really good. Like I walk into this office and I'll be like, how the hell did I get here? You start feeling like, like this kind of thoughts that go through your head. Up until that point, did you have some of that you were going through?
Sure. I because you know why? Because to be honest, Raúl, on that, let's say 10-year period, it was a lot of success. Let's say just success.
Yeah.
So me as a business owner, I wasn't put it to the test.
Yeah.
In terms of like, if you are a real business owner, so you should be able to handle a punch in the mouth of this size, right?
Yeah.
So before that, I feel like, everything is good, very natural. Awards like Sport of the Year and this and that, and knowing people. Very good, because I was also very diligent, hard worker, and all that. But before that, I never feel like business life put me to the test on that. So I say on the book that event for me, it was a game changer, and I see it as a master degree on business, that the ticket cost me $1 million, right? And it was hard. And you know what? What was the thing? One of my big mistakes, that I was punishing myself and say like, imagining the $1 million catch on the table, and you know what? I could be buying cash a house of $1 million. And all.
Imagine playing poker and you put $1 million on the table.
Sure. How many sneakers? Endless vacation. all that shit. But it's just the fucking wrong way to see the things that is happening to you. So you are.
Try to see the positive in that negative.
Sure.
I think that's what you and I, when we initially met, you had shared that story. I shared the tax story with you of being audited and having $100,000 tax bill that I was like, wait a minute, like people have to pay. And now that I've talked to people, they're like, oh, that's a baby tax bill. Looking back at those moments, I think they make you better. And when you look back you look at the positive, not at like the material that was lost or, the stuff, but thinking like, okay, out of my experience too, I I joined a tax mastermind. I hired a tax strategist. I can do your taxes now. So I have about 120 hours of tax strategy, tax learning, learning the tax code, understanding it a little bit better. So it's really, really helped me. But
That's
these
very
are,
important.
like you said, it turns into positive things. Like in your case, writing the book. In my case, diving deeper into taxes, which has now gone down to the road of entity and legal and protecting the veil and all this other stuff.
But you see, those problems expanded our capabilities, right?
Yep.
Because based on that problem, now you have a broader, toolbox of capabilities.
Yep.
Same on my side. The other thing that I have to say, Raul, is that okay, what I wanna do with all that learning.
Yeah.
So I wanna share all that learning. I don't want to keep it for myself,
absolutely,
right?
right?
Yeah, if I can save someone on a conversation on this podcast, I mean, $5,000 or something. And I think I have I'm very obsessive on employment, because when I graduated from school as an engineer, it took me more than a year to find one employment opportunity, one job opportunity.
Yep.
So that hurts me a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's why every time that I talk to an entrepreneur right now, mm-hmm. I say, okay, how many employees do you have? Let's say the guy have 2, mm-hmm. 3, and he's struggling to keep them. So I have a lot of fire to put the best of myself to help that guy to keep those 3 jobs, even increase the level of quality of those jobs.
Absolutely.
And also have, 6 more or 10 more. So that's the thing that turns on my fire, because I have a lot of obsession for employment.
For sure. Anything like in that field too, I'm very passionate about too. Mm. I'm actually, in doing the management company, I've started to consider also doing some consulting work to consult owners, because most of the time at the end of the day, I end up consulting owners on like their business. I've had owners that come to me and say, nobody wants to work today, Raul. Mm-hmm. People are just not motivated anymore. You've heard this, right?
Oh yeah.
And reading Peter Diamandis' book and putting 2 and 2 together, I'm like, that's not the case. It's not that people don't want to work. It's that our methods are outdated, and it's our job as entrepreneurs and owners to be able to innovate the process to get people excited. When we hire at MonsterLink, and Brian can tell you this, going forward is everybody who comes into the company has to do 3 months of non-paid internship. Mm. We do it that way. And we have no problem finding people who want to do this. These are college educated people that do it. And then when I look back and say, okay, well, what's the difference between that and why some people don't want to work out there today, is I think it comes down to believing in the vision and who's driving the company, believing in what the company stands for and what the company's doing, and then seeing opportunity for themselves as well. Like, is there opportunity here to grow? I'm willing to invest time as long as I see that growth. And it's something that I constantly walk around and I talk with these guys, and Brian could tell you, I always go into the office and I'm always sitting with them and going and telling them where the next step. And I share a lot with them, just first of all, just to give them the stuff that I have to go through so they will grow in their journeys. But also I'm always very passionate about how can we improve the life of our, we have a goal at MonsterLink to increase our salaries to a certain point. And I've made it my commitment. I voiced it to my guys before we even got there. So these are the things that we're pushing. When I first started the company, that was one of the things that I wanted to do, was to change because of the same reason. I got out of college and I was like, all right, I'm here. And then I just heard my voice back to me 10 times. Nobody was there, right? I had to create my own lane and create my own position. And so I'm very very, very passionate about creating a lane in innovation and technology and in marketing. So when people tell me it's just a marketing company, it almost insults me because it's like, no, my guys are like, we're more than artists. You know, like and this is what I think is important, and you can read in the Exponential Organizations, is to create that vision. Peter Diamandis believes that missions and visions are outdated, and you got to give a purpose of why the organization exists. And I think if we do a good job of that people are going to be a lot more engaged in following and or believing in your lead.
Yeah, for sure, something bigger than yourself, right?
And it's not just money.
It's not
purpose.
just money. And also to be clear with them that, I mean, this is not just about making the owner rich. It's about...
That's the other thing too, that a lot of people, they line their, man, I've been in my house for the last 17 years already. I have in my house, and I'm still in it, but I could easily have pocketed a lot more. We carry a higher payroll. We're up to about 45% of our total revenue goes back to payroll, which is very high right now. We've had to grow it. Obviously, in my line of work, and in most line of work, you have to hire the threshold, and then you bring up the workload, right? And I know that the average sits at around 20 to 30%. So we are aware of that. I voice that to all my guys, and so they know that we're making sacrifices for them, but also too, because I believe in our team and what we're building, and we look to higher that threshold to get those numbers a little bit better under control.
Sure. And on my case, in order to simplify that for me, it's I always try to build the companies that I would like to work for.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah,
all the shit I hated that my old bosses did, I do, man. Like all my guys will tell you, I'm very reasonable with them, because I remember the days that my boss wouldn't let me go see my kids at a graduation. Like, who does that? Don't do that to your employees, guys, all right?
Unfortunately, it's very hard for small business owners to understand that we are very archaic.
we all have the urgency to get work done, man, but I think there's a balance, and we can be reasonable with people, and obviously if it becomes a problem, then you can address it, but in most cases I think being reasonable, and I think this is how we have to innovate. And you see a lot of the new businesses, and you saw Twitter go to the extreme, right, with that. And then Elon Musk came back and he said, no, we're not doing that shit here, right? So I believe there's a balance that, and I don't like to use the word balance because who knows what that means, right? But I think there's something in between there that we can be reasonable with people, you know? And I like to push and educate people when they're having those kinds of problems to how we can fix it. And more, the marketing world is starting to become more into business. So it's not only just marketing, like coming up with a cool video to market. It's more getting involved in the whole business process, from where we're listening to calls all the way to we're giving even business advice. And I'm even talking, and like you said, just spreading the word. Even on tax, I'm like, have you taken advantage of Section 469C7 from the tax code? And they're like, what the hell is that, bro? You know, so I'm always trying to like give education as much as I can on other things that I think will help an organization grow. And I think that's where my passion is. It's not just like, I'm not going to just do a video to cut the video for you and stuff like that. Let's have meetings. Let's go through it. I tend to give people more of my time than probably I should a lot of the times, but I've always been like that, man.
But you know what? That's value, and that's a lot of value, and that's a big differentiator, because in this world of just, I mean, fighting for pennies on the services and all that, I mean, that's a huge differentiator for you, because nobody can fight against that acumen of value and with a team that is fully inspired, right?
Yep.
And I mean, they just can't stop that.
That's been my biggest hurdle right now. It's probably been the scaling thing. I know you and I have had conversations. I asked you about this on my podcast, which you gave a brilliant like response and stuff on that. And I'm always intrigued on how owners today are scaling and how they're handling that whole process.
You know what? I have a friend that I recently met. His name is Daniel Marcos.
Yeah.
He's a rock star on scaling companies, right? He's based on Austin. So I talked to him, and his business is helping companies to scale up, right?
Cool.
But he say, when they hire me to scale up their companies, I sit down with them and I told them, okay, scaling up, it's a very painful process, okay? So why do you want to scale up? What's the main reason? Because we always dream like having a $50 million, $100 million company revenue, blah, blah, blah. So he told me, Jose, I have customers that their annual revenue is 50 million, but they lost 3 million.
Yeah, they're in the red, right?
Every fucking year.
Yeah.
And I have business owners, customers that the revenue is 3 million and the owner pocket 1 million for him.
Yeah.
And he have 2 months of vacation. So everything is about perspective. Why do you want to scale up your company? And that was an aha moment for me.
Yeah.
And he say, the sweet spot after all these years scaling up companies and talking with hundreds and hundreds of very successful entrepreneurs, I can say that the sweet spot, it's around $3 to $5 million and having no more than 15, 17 employees.
Yeah.
Max 20. That's the sweet spot when you know the name of everyone. That the revenue is enough to be all well paid. You will pocket very nice money. You will be creating wealth.
Yep.
You will have quality of life and all that.
Yep.
And why? So this guy of the 50 million, he redesigned his business, and he shrink back to $9 million, but the guy was pocketing $3 million for home.
Wow.
And having the best fucking life ever.
Wow.
So I learned that from this guy.
By my financial advisor. He told me the same thing. Half of the businesses that come to me are worth millions of dollars, but don't make any profits. Yeah. They operate
and it's
in
a grinder
zeros.
for you as a business owner. It's a killer to having 100 employees. Can you imagine that? And also it's very hard because at the same time, you don't have enough money to pay specialists for every area to be that level of company.
I agree, man. That's why you have to, as an entrepreneur, that's why I say, like, I consider myself to be very savvy, so I can imagine. And if I struggle, imagine the average person, is probably struggling. But I try to take a subject like tax. I was on tax for like the last 6 months, and it's all I talked about at the office. Now I'm kind of like veering over to like financial stability, and I'm going through that, and it is a painful process. You're looking at your margins, you're making hard decisions, looking at every single penny coming in and out. It's a very difficult, but you have to be engaged. I tell owners the same thing about marketing. I had a person call me. I was just telling Brian on the way over here. I had a person call me. The third time they've already called me and asked me for a proposal, and this time I said, no, I'm not going to do another damn proposal for you. I told you two times, 3 years before and another 5 years before that, and you guys called me the same. You don't even remember that you called me. I said, the problem is you guys don't take the time to really invest. The last time I talked to you, you didn't even give me 5 minutes of your time. And I don't want to partner up with people that are not invested into their own business, because this is how much time it takes for us to get to that point. Like when I meet with the financial advisor, when I meet with the tax strategist, I have to give them my time and commit to what we're doing, or we're never going to get there. And I see that's a lot of the big problem. They're like, oh, I'm going to hire somebody, or, when I say I'm hiring, but believe me, I'm doing a lot of the work myself as well too. I'm digging into the subject. I'm reading books. You have to be educated on all those levels, or else you will get taken for a ride.
Sure.
Or somebody's going to take your money.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, Raúl, I would like to finalize the episode with a question that I like a lot. So let's imagine that we are in a championship fight, okay? Mm-hmm. Those championship fights in Las Vegas, like Canelo, all those guys, right?
Yeah.
So the current champion of the world in one corner, it's a boxer that represents the current market of 2023. Okay. So on the opposite corner, the challenger, the boxer, represents entrepreneurs right now. And so you have the privilege to be the corner man of that boxer, that entrepreneur. So what will be your advice, whispering in the ear of that guy to be able to win that championship fight against the market of 2023?
I'm going to try to use my best analogies on this, but obviously, where I'm going to go with a lot of this because I believe in it a lot. But first of all, I'm going to give them the motivation speech to bite down on the mouthpiece, and we're going to have to do this, and we're this close away. You didn't fight all your way to get to this point. To let this moment down, I think that's first, is to put that gratitude, put that first in your head before you even get into that ring and enter the ring again. But I'm going to let him know that that I'm going to say that technology is your friend. And I'm using it, and I'm trying to find an analogy for in the boxing ring for technology. But I think entrepreneurs in 2023 are facing a massive shift, a change that's going on right now, where people that have been in business for 30 to 50 years are being put out of business by somebody that's coming in 1 year clean because they understand technology. They understand how to innovate and use those tools. And I'm going to tell my boxer that he has to innovate and understand that he's going to have to adapt to what this fighter has brought to him to the fight that day. But I think our owners today, they have to wake up. And if you're comfortable, you've been sitting there pocketing that money for so many years, know that it's not going to always be like that. And I think now more than ever, it's a time for us to adapt and innovate and to be able to stay in the ring and to be able to make it through that last round and possibly get a knockout and go for the victory.
Yeah, I like it. I like your answer. It's definitely, we are living unprecedented moments, full of challenges, changes, but also full of opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
If you put the right ingredients, it's full of opportunities. And you are right, it's scary the amount of small businesses that have more than 10 years that are falling down and putting themselves out of business because of new technologies, because of
they waited.
Sure.
They waited until something came in and innovated them out of the business. Yeah. Because today there's so many businesses, a lot of small jobs are going to be put out by AI and a lot of the things that can come about through programming and through the use of these tools. And we waited.
Yeah. Unfortunately, nowadays I see a lot of entrepreneurs like they are satisfied just with be enough for the job, enough for the services that they deliver. When we are in times where that sometimes being extraordinary is not enough, right?
Even that grit that I talked about, the knowledge and the ability to want it could be not enough. Yeah. And I think that's what entrepreneurs have going up against in the future. And we have to adapt as much as we can and educate ourselves and rethink the way we've thought for a long time and be open, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm not good at computers. Like if you keep telling yourself, it's almost like saying, I don't like to do squats, and you go into the gym every day and you're skipping leg day every day because you don't like it. Those are the ones you should be doing more of. And I think that's what business owners need to do, is they need to do more of the things that they don't like, especially when it comes to innovation and technology, because you're going to need it to stay. You're going to need, in the future, you're up against a robot that doesn't get tired. You're up against a robot that doesn't feel emotion, that doesn't have a family, that doesn't have to take a break. So you need to be able to understand how these work and to be able to find ways to work with it and to adapt through it. Even though like I said, there's some stuff that's scary, absolutely, but you and I are not stopping that boat, and we need to be able to understand it and see the writing on the wall. You need to see the writing on the wall and adapt with it.
Sure. Thank you, Raul.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to say?
My friend, I want to just thank you again. I love the analogies of the boxing ring, man. Like, I'm a big martial arts fan and a student of the game, student of martial arts, and I love what you've done. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Like anything I can do, I'm always here to help, and my agency and my people, that we're always here, and I look forward to more conversations, man, and looking back at these conversations to see, the growth and the change that goes on. And thank you again. Thank you to your family and all you guys that showed up today for this podcast.
No, thank you. Thank you for the time. I know it's challenging right now for you on family things and business growth and all that. So I appreciate this time that you are honoring us to have you here to share the wisdom for others. And the good thing is that we are doing this for something bigger than you and I.
Absolutely.
We are doing something for something bigger than us.
I do feel it, man. And I think we need to be empathetic to people and what other people go through. We never know what people are going through, man. Sometimes when you feel like sometimes it means a lot just to reach out to see how people are doing. And a lot of times we are programmed to say everything's okay, right? But I think through all the business and the money transactions and everything, I think it's important to stay humble and be empathetic to people.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you, Raúl.
Thanks again, Jose.
Thank you.